What's up? I'm Coach Dan Blewett. In today's video, we're going to cover the spin move. This is one of the second base pickoff moves that you're going to need if you're a pitcher in baseball. So there are two moves to second base. The first pickoff move is the spin move. That's the one we'll cover in this video. I've also done a full video on the inside move. That's the other of the two that you need to know if you're a pitcher. So I'll link in the description below to my other pickoff video about righty pickoff moves to first and the inside move as well. So if you're here and you're not sure which one you want, I didn't want to do both pickoff moves to second in one video because it would have been about 20 minutes long. So again, today's video is on the spin move, which is one of the pickoff moves to second. And I'm glad you're here, so let's check it out. All right, so if you're new here, I'm Coach Dan Blewett. I'm a former pro pitcher. In the description link, you'll find timestamps for this video, other videos that are related to it, like pickoffs to first, base stealing situations, all sorts of stuff like that. Also my books and online courses if you want to learn more about the game. So number one, the spin move footwork is essentially the same as the righty footwork to first base. And so for lefties, obviously I'll explain this, I'll demonstrate this real quick, but your rear foot, so for righties, your right foot, is going to disconnect forward at an angle, and this angle is important because it's going to allow your hips to actually get clear to second base. And then from here, I'm going to swing all the way around, and I'm going to make my throw in one fluid motion to second base. So it doesn't matter if you're a righty or lefty. If you're a lefty, it's still going to be the same thing. Disconnects, and then you come through and make your throw to second base. So it's identical. And again, for right-handed pitchers picking to first, this is the same footwork, except now I go here, and then I go all the way around. So the footwork itself is actually pretty simple. What is important is, again, and I talked about this in my righty pickoffs to first base video, you can't come set like this. And I know this, I'm only talking to maybe some little leaguers who do this, because most pitchers stop doing this by time, I don't know, they're still pretty young. But if you come set with your feet too close together, even if it's like this, your feet don't have enough room to work to execute this pickoff move properly. You need a wider base of support, so really about shoulder width. And again, I'll link in the description to a video about the stretch position that explains all this in more detail. But you need your feet to be wide enough where they have room to work and exchange, because this foot, you can see it needs some room to exchange and do its thing, because now my hips have got to get going this way. So if your feet are too close together, number one, then this move just isn't going to work well for you. So at full speed, this move is going to be very, very simple. You're going to, again, step, and you're going to kick through. Now there is a little bit of like a, this one's going to kind of spin around. And again, I'll get some slow motion video that I'll overlay. But let me do a couple here to second base, and you can see how this looks at full speed. So I come set. We'll do one more. So one thing to notice is I'm not trying to be hyper fast where everything's spinning in the air like a tornado. You can see that I still have a little bit of a right foot, left foot. And here's the reason. You don't need to be insanely fast at second base. If you can do this insanely fast, more power to you. But you have to understand that the consequences for being very, very fast is going to be, you're going to land a little bit off, and your hips aren't going to get through, and that ball is going to go in the outfield. And not only is he going to get third, but in a lot of times he'll score. So if you throw this ball too far into right center, or a little bit less, so it's going to happen in left center, he's got a good chance of scoring from second. You know, obviously he's going to dive back. He's going to have to get up and collect himself, but there's a very real risk of cashing this runner with a throw that is too rushed. So you're going to catch a runner when he's got a gigantic lead, and you put on a pickoff play and all that sort of stuff, and you kind of catch him napping and make this really strong throw. But again, you need to find the balance of being fast, but not so fast that you're out of control. That's really, really important, because the worst thing that can happen, again, is you mail this throw because you went too fast trying to pick a guy off. And look, you're only going to pick runners off once in a while. Even if you put on the perfect play, he looks like he's gonna be dead, he's got such a big lead, you make a tremendous throw and a great spin move, he's still gonna be safe most of the time. Pickoffs are still pretty rare. So don't hurt your ability to win the game by being so fast and so rushed that you chuck it into the outfield, because that happens a lot. And the same thing that I explained in my right-handed pickoff moves video is that the length of your arm matters. So if you want to be quicker to second base, and the footwork is going to be kind of what it is. You can always be faster with your footwork, but since it's just a long throw, you have to be careful. But you can be quicker with your arm, holding it closer to your ear, more like a catcher, rather than having this longer arm swing. So I'll try one of those here. So a little bit quicker, but it also might be a little bit less of an accurate throw. That one was a little bit high. So the important thing to understand beyond the mechanics of picking to second, there's a bunch of them. Number one, you can fake to second base. And I highly recommend you fake to second base. So this play, you can't just do this. You can't just do the spin move anytime you want. It has to be coordinated with your shortstop or your second base, because no one's gonna be there if you just bust out this move at random. They can't read your mind. So typically when you do a spin move and throw it, either you've coordinated something with your shortstop, your catcher slash your coach has put on a play which coordinates with your shortstop, or you already watched him crashing over. So there has to be coordination between you and typically your shortstop who's going to receive that throw, because he's got to be running over and he's got to be 6-7 feet from the bag by the time you start your move, so he's there ready to take your throw and put it down. So you can't just bust out a spin move throw, or it's going to go straight over the bag into center field, because they're just going to be like, what happened? I didn't know you were doing that. So that's number one. That's why, say you haven't coordinated a move and now you're about ready to pitch, but that runner is so far off and he looks like he's a guarantee to steal third right now. You can't just bust around and throw it through the second base, because it's going to go in the outfield. So what you do in that situation is you go, okay, boom, and you give the most convincing arm fake that you can. And he's not going to be able to take time to discern whether you're going to throw it or not. He's just going to go, oh crap, he's coming for me, and he's going to make a hard dive back to second base. So when I was still in pro ball, what I would do all the time is I would do spin move fakes. I probably only threw the ball actually to second base maybe like twice in my last 4 years, but I would do a spin move fake whenever I needed to, because it would get the job done and I could do it anytime I wanted, and there was zero risk of an overthrow. So the more you throw to bases, the more risk there is, obviously, just from exposure, of throwing a ball away. But if you fake it to second base, there's a 0.00 chance that you're going to throw it away. So anytime you can employ, using the same footwork, a convincing hard arm fake to second base. And I highly recommend that's something that you're comfortable with, because obviously you're going to have the ball in your hand, and you've got to be comfortable not like spiking to the ground. So there's something also to practice, but it's easy to do and it's very, very effective. And then the other thing about that is, if I bust out a fake, guess what? Everyone's going to know, okay, Dan is concerned about this runner. So now the shortstop's going to look me in the eye and say, okay, do you want to put on a pickoff play? Or maybe I get a sign from my coach who says, yeah, you're right, you caught it. He was definitely going to go. We need to pick off to second base now. So that's how all that sort of process works. You always have the control and the power as a pitcher to do a fake to second base. You can fake anytime and essentially get that runner back under control without throwing it. The other thing to understand is you need to put on this pickoff play. A lot of times coaches will do it, but if the coach doesn't want to pick off play, or if coach isn't going to relay a sign and you want to coordinate one and you want to throw it, you need to have something with your shortstop. So this is something you'll do in the game, or in the dugout. In the dugout, you'll go, hey, shortstop, if I look at you in the eye between pitches and I rub my leg, that means I want to pick. Or if I look at you in the eye and you want to pick, you're going to like grab your thing, or you're going to like grab your cap real quick. So there has to be some sort of sign between you, but you're going to coordinate, say, hey, make sure you look me in the eye between pitches when there's a runner on second. That way, if we want to put on a pickoff play, we can do it. That's the important thing. So I look at my shortstop, he gives me the sign, I come set, and now I know I'm looking at him, I see him break, now I'm gonna look back at the plate briefly, and then I'm gonna go. This video is not about coordinating those moves, because I can do a separate one on that, but that's sort of how this process works. But the nuts and bolts of doing the spin move are the same. You're gonna throw it, or you're gonna make a very convincing fake, and this is the move, because you're spinning arms or glove side, this is the move that you're actually going to pick runners off with. All right, so that's going to do it on this video about the spin move, which again is one of the 2 critical pickoff moves to second base. So again, the spin move is the one where you turn and make the sharp throw. This one has its specific use cases, but don't discount faking to second base. That's one of the best things you can do because there's no risk of overthrow, and it'll usually do the job of getting the runner back. You're not going to get anyone out doing a fake, but it's a really critical piece of your toolbox. You know, it's a tool in your toolkit to make sure you have as a pitcher. All right, so thanks again for watching. I'm Coach Stan Blewett, and I'll see you here in the next video.